Old topic. Is man basically good or basically evil? New guest, Emmanuel Fletcher. Okay, joining me is Emmanuel Fletcher, and we're talking about a previous video that I put up that he actually watched, and it's the question of, is man basically good or basically evil? So Emmanuel had some opinions on that. Emmanuel, go for it. Who did you agree with primarily, me or Stacey
I,
Elder?
I agree with Stacy. I do think man is good at when man is born. Man is good. First of all, in the first place, when a man is born, they don't know what is good and what's bad. It's pretty much from you growing up. It's in the environment that you have. But I do think man has good tendencies in them, but it's the environment that you're in and what influences you. Everyone that's around here, it's that people have had in our life that make us to be who we are. So if you have people that are always negative and people that are always bad around you, you might have good tendencies, but eventually that could cloud your judgment. Man is good, but it's the how do I phrase this? It's how long can man sustain the goodness they have in them based on the surroundings, based on the things that surround them and the people that surround them.
Okay, so I'm going to start by asking you the same question I asked Stacey, and I want to get to some other sides of this issue because there's more to talk about. But I want to start by just saying the same thing I said to Stacey. How is that possible? How can man be basically good, and yet collectively there's all this evil pressure from the society that these basically good people created? How does, when we're individually we're good but collectively we're bad? I don't understand.
Okay, like for example, let's go back. If you go to the Bible, let's go straight to the Bible. Adam and Eve, they were both good people
Yeah.
until they were corrupt by the devil. That's the first instance of man being good but being corrupt by their surrounding and being influenced by the things that surround them.
So you
Go there.
you blame Satan for the sins that they committed?
Absolutely, because man, first of all, didn't know evil until they got influenced by the devil and ate the apple. Because man knew good, because God was good, and that's who they talked to. God was who they talked to. All because in the Bible it never said they talked to the devil. And from Genesis, in those times, the only person they talked to was God. And if God was good, they had no influence of evil around them until
Right.
they talked to the devil.
Right.
So that's why I say man is good in the beginning because you are with God.
Yeah.
If you're a Christian and you believe in God, He created you, so you start off with God. So you start off as good, but it's
So
what is
so
around you.
no, you just made a big jump, and this is very important. You just made a big jump from
Mm-hmm.
Adam and Eve's origin to our origin, and our origin
Mm-hmm.
is actually very different from Adam and Eve's origin. I agree. Adam and Eve did start out perfect. They still had free will, which is how evil was able to
Yeah.
enter the world, and that's a whole different discussion. Why there is such a thing as evil? Because that's a question that really stumps pretty much everyone. Anyone that
Yeah.
believes in the existence of evil, which should be everyone. I don't know how you get away with not thinking evil exists. But
Mm-hmm.
anyone who believes in the existence of evil and also believes in a good God, um, the question of why evil exists when there's an all-powerful good God that can just
Yeah.
snuff it out, that's a tough question to answer. So that's a whole other discussion, and that's interesting to get into. And I don't have all the answers. I don't have any of the answers because I'm not sure anyone does. Um, but so that's another discussion. But Adam and Eve's origin story and our origin story are very different. Adam and Eve started out good because they had free will, and they were tempted, but they gave in to temptation. They did become,
Mm-hmm.
they had the knowledge of good and evil, and they became, I think, evil at that point. Although I think they still were able to be saved through God's grace and through the looking forward to Christ in the same way that anyone's been saved throughout history. But they started out good, turned evil. Our origin story is very different because ever since Adam, we've inherited that sin that Adam and Eve let into the world.
Yeah.
So we now start out with that sin. We don't start out being basically good the way they did, right? Because we're not part of this new creation that God created. We are post eating the apple. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Do we still agree?
Like today in church, like Pastor, he said something profound. He was like, no one in the world is born with fear. Fear is, and you either learn it or you inherit it. It's evil. I don't think anyone is born with. It's in the yes, it's in the blood because of the apple, and the veil has been taken off our eye. Yes, we are born with it, but I think everyone is born good because. And you, like, for example, you see your dad is evil at this point. You see your dad slaughter someone. Your first instinct will be like, why is he doing that?
It's worth noting that my dad has not slaughtered people. I believe Emmanuel is using a hypothetical example.
And then he has to explain it to you. So through his explanation, he's influencing that if he's the only one around you, the goodness in you to evil. So I think man is always born good. I think man is born good. Yes, there's that evil underlining because of Adam and Eve, of the veil being taken off our eye. Yes, that's there, but I think everyone is born good. It's based on the surrounding and the people around you.
Help me understand. So, okay, and I don't want to get on too much of a tangent, but the idea that we're not born with fear is interesting because I'm not sure I agree with that. Fear is kind of a natural instinct, right? It's one of the things that I think we are born with. It's kind of one of our animal natures that we have that fear. And fear. I don't think fear is intrinsically evil. Fear is not a bad thing. Fear. I mean, the fear of the Lord is a very good thing. Fear can keep us from getting ourselves hurt if we're afraid of an animal that could eat us. It's like fear can be a very good thing, or at least it's certainly not intrinsically a bad thing.
One fear you should have, and that's fear of God. That's it. That's the only fear you should have, but you shouldn't fear anything else. I think that's a good
Christian perspective. But I suppose, I don't know that fear is necessarily an evil thing in and of itself. Okay, but either way, so you're a Christian, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you call yourself a Christian, and I do too.
Yeah.
So I think that the Bible is pretty clear on this issue, which is why I think it's interesting that you disagree with me. So I don't think the biblical story of our salvation through Christ makes sense if you think that we're basically good. Because if the idea is that we're basically good, then it would almost appear that we should be able to earn some part of our salvation. But the Bible is pretty clear that it comes exclusively through Christ and through the grace that we receive, which makes sense if we are evil people, that we have to receive 100% of our salvation from God's grace, not from our own works. But if you start saying that we're good, then it seems like we can do part of that. So I agree that go ahead.
See, the salvation is there. God knows why he put the salvation there in the first place. Because first, he wouldn't have put the salvation there, and Jesus wouldn't have come to die for us if Adam and Eve hadn't eaten that. There's a reason why he put that salvation there, because he knows that as humans, there's so much we can do when evil is, because evil is put in this beautiful way. And as humans, we get tempted. So you will be corrupted because you are good. To me, everyone is good when they are born. But God knows that as a human, there's so much temptation you can overcome. by your will. That's why he put salvation there for us. Because eventually, as good people, there are some evil that's going to succumb to us that we are not going to be able to handle. So the salvation is there to cleanse us of that evilness. That's why he put salvation there. That's why Jesus came to die for us. That's why he came on the cross. That's why he went through all the pain and all the agony, because he's like, I know my people are good people. But eventually, as they grow up and as the surroundings that they have, or as the people they have around them, they are going to be corrupt, and they are going to need that blood that was shed on Calvary to cover them.
I think he did it because he loves us. I don't think he did it because we were good people.
Yeah, and that's part of it.
I think that's all of it. I think that God so loved the world, so he sent his one and only son to die for us. I don't think that there is any part of that was because we were good people. That's the part of the salvation story that I don't think is biblical. I don't think that there's any part of the Bible that says we were saved because we're good people. I think the Bible actually is very clear that that's not the reason why we were saved. And I think it's dangerous when we start to include stuff like that.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, yes, man is born good, in my opinion. Man is born good, but as the surroundings that come with you, you are going to fall. I don't care who you are. You might be the most powerful prophet in the world, but everyone has.
Yeah, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, everyone has that weakness. That's why that's out, because if he didn't love us, it can do all the evil in the world. I don't care. He loved us so much, and he knows my people are going to fall. And I love them enough to send my only son and save them.
Right.
Because he knows we are all going to fall short. Like, we are all, there's not a single person in this world and tell me that, oh no, I have never sinned or never done something evil in my life. There's absolutely, unless you were born unless you were born like 20 seconds ago and died that 20 seconds, then yes, you were a good person when you died. But apart from that, I think.
But okay,
I think
so
everyone is born good.
Yeah, I don't know. All right. I mean, I think we agree on most of the big issues in terms of salvation through Christ and through his love. But I don't know. I guess I still don't see how a world full of basically good people can create such an evil world. And maybe, I don't know, maybe your explanation is the fact that you do believe in this external pressure of the devil and of external evil.
If you have the devil working, there's going to be someone that's going to fall short and then corrupt people. I mean, the devil is always going to be working. The devil is always going to be working. There are always going to be people that are going to fall for what the devil does. I just don't think that we deserve any of the credit for the good stuff that we do. I think that that's all on God, and I think that we can't. Oh, absolutely.
But if you agree with me there, then you don't think that people are basically good. If we give God all the credit for the good that we do, then that means it's God. So we're left to ourselves, we would be evil. We would not be good. But because of God, we can be good. We have that potential, and we have the potential to act good.
So, but my thing is, at birth, man is good. Let's be at birth, man is good. But as time goes, man learns about things that surrounds him. Man learns about the evilness that surrounds him. Man sees the evil that surrounds him, and evil is enticing. Tries to do what he's seeing. So
why would it be enticing to good people?
Because that's evil. In this enticing way.
Well, it seems like evil would be, because evil is repulsive. What is it?
It's repulsive, but it's wrapped up.
I know, but
just cute way.
Hear me out for a second. So Paul talks about how he does what he doesn't want to do, and he's just talking about his struggles with sins, and how there are times where he he just can't understand why he does things that he doesn't want to do. And he's talking about, sin. I think that's I think evil is repulsive when we're in God. When God is working in us, it becomes more and more repulsive. But I think left to our natural selves, we commit evil because it is enticing. And I think the fact that evil is enticing to us shows that we are naturally evil, because it wouldn't be if we were naturally good, evil would be repulsive to us no matter what. I don't think that there's so that's why I think that we're evil, but we have the potential to do good by God's grace through God every time, and the credit always goes to God. When we commit evil, that's just us being our natural selves, but when we can do good, that's God working in us. And
I just think. Oh, go ahead, finish.
Well, and so I carry that all the way back to birth, because I guess it's almost a moot point, whether you come out of the womb being evil or not. But I think that, I think too many people think that they're good people, and that expression that, I'm a good person, I'm just going through rough times, or I just can't quite handle all the pressures, or whatever. Those statements I just think that people are tricking themselves, or they don't have an accurate view of themselves and of the world. They don't understand that no one's a good person. Because when that's your worldview, when your worldview is that I'm a good person, but I'm just going through a rough time, you're just blaming. You're living a life of blame. You can't take responsibility for your bad issues, and therefore you can't actually get better. If you can't ever take responsibility for the wrong that's happening, for the evil that you're committing, then how on earth are you going to get past that evil? And so I think at some point you have to accept, I'm evil, God can make me better. That's the only way to actually to move on and to be saved, is to accept your own evilness.
Yeah.
And I guess
I think there are good people in this world by the grace of God. That's why he said his mercies are new every morning. I think there are good people in this world, and it's all you needing those new mercies every day to renew your faith in God, who you are in God every day and every time. So I do think there are good people in the world. I don't think not everyone, because I do know, like, yes, after eating that apple, that veil has all been removed from all our eyes. So we all do have, you talk about that man is naturally evil, but I think man is naturally good, but influenced with the evil, because it's much easier now, evilness, and be influenced by it, because we no longer have that veil that covers and shuts off evil from us.
So I have a question. So why is it? Do you know if there's like a deeper reason for why you believe that? Your opinion could be totally valid and could be even more accurate than mine. But I think the reason why I am so inclined to think that we're basically evil is just because I value personal accountability. I value taking responsibility for the wrong that you do and whatnot. And I just feel like there's just too much blame involved in the other worldview of thinking man is basically good. So I think that's why it makes a lot more sense to me. I don't know exactly which view is more valid. I tend to think mine is, obviously, but I'm curious, is there a reason? Can you think of like another reason why you hold one view versus another, why you tend towards thinking that man is basically good? Is that just because you're just really optimistic?
No. Boys, for me, I think man's good, especially if you are I don't think you should walk around with this notion of evil. Man, people out there that are good, and there are people out there that are evil, and people out there that are good. I don't think you should walk around having the notion or having the mindset of, oh yeah, man is evil. I think is I walk around to believe man is good. That's in my heart. So I refuse to walk around and say, oh, man is evil. I think of that. It makes it easier for me to become evil. It makes it easier for me to be influenced by that evil in man. So I choose to believe man is good, but influenced by the evilness around them. Because I'm not going to walk around and say I'm a good person.
Well, okay. Yeah,
Because
that's good.
it's in between there. I'm good, and then I have the evil tendencies. It's all there. That's why I need the grace of God every morning, and I need His forgiveness every day. Because sometimes I do things without knowing is wrong, and then eventually I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that. Then I'm like, oh God, forgive me for that. And that's me being good because, I'm walking around thinking I'm doing great. I'm doing a good, realizing that I might have said something to someone and I didn't mean it in that way, but they took it in a way. And then I get back and I'm like, oh my God, I said this to this person and I didn't think about how they felt this certain way. And then I ask for forgiveness. To me, that's man being good right there. And choosing to know like your wrongs for forgiveness. I know I did this thing I'm not supposed to do because we are all human. We're all there's not a day that goes by where sin. That's why it's like ask forgiveness before you go to bed and ask for forgiveness the minute you wake up. I'm like, God, forgive me for whatever wrong I'm going to do today. I don't know what's going to happen, but just forgive me for that one. And I think to me, that's man being good right there, knowing that as they have that tendencies to fall short. So that's my opinion of man being good because they know that tendencies. So they go ahead and like, you know what, God, today's in your hand. I'm putting myself in your hand. Forgive me of whatever's going to happen today. If something bad happens, I will try to help me out of it. It's, to me, that's all viewed as man being good.
Okay. Well, folks, there you have it. Two opinions, differing opinions from two people that are both Christians, and one of them is a prince. So you should probably take his, opinion higher than the other one. I will leave.
You see, right there, you're trying to get the evil out of me. You see, right there, you're trying to get the evilness.
You're
out
a prince. I'm sorry. I don't know how else to address you, Your Highness, your Highnessness.
James, we've known each other for how long now?
Well, if I was a prince of Ghana, I would want to be properly addressed, so I'm just trying to give you the credit that you are due, my friend.
If you were a prince or whatever, I will still address you as James.
I'm sure you would. Thank you, Emmanuel, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
Why is this practical? Why is this a discussion that's worth having? The biggest reason, in my opinion, is that it relates very closely to this conversation that's currently happening on a national and really a global scale. This conversation of socialism versus capitalism. And here's my perspective. I just want to add my voice to the conversation. I think my perspective comes directly from this idea of man being evil. I think that man is evil, and I think that if you think that man is evil, there is no way socialism could ever possibly work. If you think that man's good, I can understand where you think it might happen. But in a world where man is evil, you can't possibly trust your neighbor to share with you in the same way that you're willing to share with them, if as socialism would mandate. Which is why every time socialism has been tried, it ends up being forced sharing, which is no longer sharing. Charity can only occur in a system that is capitalistic, that has ownership. People own things and then they give them freely. That's charity, and that can only occur with capitalism or the capitalist elements of a socialist society, if they try to allow some elements of ownership and capitalism to take place. So that's my view on socialism. Now, spin it around, my view on capitalism. is obviously the exact opposite. I do think, again, I still think man is basically evil. I think that capitalism just harnesses that evil and pushes it in the right direction. I like to think of it in terms of magnetism. For anyone who studied a physics textbook, you may remember those diagrams of maybe a piece of metal that's not magnetic, but when a magnet is drawn near, all those different force vectors or those magnetic forces that are canceling each other out, pointing against each other, they all suddenly become aligned when the magnet is brought close. I think of capitalism in that way because capitalism takes all of these selfishly interested people and it points them all in, points their actions and in one positive direction for society. I think that's really cool. So I'm a big fan of capitalism for that reason, because I think it accepts reality, that is, man is evil, and it takes that into account and it uses it to better society. So that's my 2 cents on socialism, capitalism, and how it relates to this conversation. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you disagree with me, please come on the show.